John Ferguson, age 65, was killed by lethal injection at 6 p.m. on Monday, August 5, 2013. Ferguson believed that he was the immortal Prince of God vested with superhuman powers, including an ability to control the sun. He was put to death despite the U.S. Constitution's prohibition against putting the mentally ill to death. Most often, we are quick to judge anyone with the label of criminal as all bad, without ever once stopping to question what made them the way they are. How does our society view criminals? And what are we doing wrong?
Okay, humans are Gucci.
Humans are inherently good, but there's some situations that cause them to stray from society.
I think it's neither. I believe that human nature is a series of paradoxes in which it's constantly contradicting one another. And that's what makes human nature great.
Some people are born bad.
A murderer or a rapist. Because to be able to do that to someone, you have to be seriously messed up. Like, you're violating not only their rights, but just their life in a way. So I think that's kind of the worst thing you can ever do.
Just crazy people.
When I think of a criminal, I think of someone who does bad things.
The kids in Chicago were, they were in gangs or they were trying to get out of gangs, but that's a very difficult thing to do themselves. They knew they were in a bad environment and that they added to that bad environment. I mean, these boys had done some bad things. One time, a fight broke out in a cafeteria, and a bunch of my students came and formed a circle around me and moved me out of the cafeteria so that I wouldn't get caught up in the fight. Those boys did a good thing because they knew on some level that I loved them and I wanted to help them, and they recognized that. But there was something in some of these boys that made them want to get out of a bad situation. But it was almost like a bucket of crabs. There would be one trying to climb out of it, but there'd be 4 more crabs trying to pull that one down. There's good in everybody.
Then when I got out, people just looked at me like I was different because I went there and they think I'm battered or something like that. I don't know. And they just act like criminal, I guess.
So what factors into the development of a criminal, and how does that affect our perceptions of them?
A lot of these criminals were criminals out of the bad environments that they might have grown out of, or the desperations they might have gone into, that they were unemployed and they were poor, and so they needed to do whatever they needed to do to make a living or to get the resources they needed. When you talk about nature versus nurture in criminality, there's 2 aspects to this you can look at. Yes, there are some people who were born with criminal intent, sociopaths. Those 2 would probably speak towards nature. Now, as far as nurture goes, your basic people of like thieves or robbers or those kinds of people. And many times, those types of people might grow out of an environment where they grew up of some type of deprivation. They might have grown into a deprivation, such as the essentials of food and shelter. They learned those things. They grew up in it, or they grew up in a family environment where that kind of thing was pursued or practiced.
In saying this, some evidence refers to the notion that criminal tendencies are engendered through the accumulation of the individual's life experiences, that criminals grow out of those that never really got that far up the hierarchy of needs. Are criminals simply the products of fate, or just as unfortunately the products of their environments? Both factors could be out of their control. Whether the argument be nature or nurture, there's always more to a criminal than just being a criminal. Someone who does something bad and gets caught is legally labeled a criminal, and therefore, by default, a bad person. How does the criminal justice system counteract this thought process by incorporating the psychology of a criminal into the judgment of them?
Alright, so psychology does factor into the criminal justice system, because for a lot of crimes, there has to be a criminal intent. As far as the insanity plea, a lot of times psychologists or psychiatrists, they will act as basically paid consultants by certain criminal defense attorneys. They'll have certain relationships with certain defense attorneys where if situations arise and the defense attorney needs help with their client as far as maybe seeing if they're insane or have some mental issues, that they'll call these consultants, psychiatrists, and to ask them questions, interview them, and to see if they are, in fact, in their expert opinion, crazy or have mental issues. And I guess if the findings are favorable to the defense, then they'll have them testify in court.
Emma Goldman once wrote, "Every society has the criminals it deserves."